Please rise as you are able for our opening hymn. We lift our hearts in thanks. We lift our hearts in thanks today for all the gifts of life, and first for peace that turns away the enmities of strife, and next the beauty of the earth, its flowers and lovely things, the spring's great miracle of birth with sound of songs and wings, then harvest of its teeming soil in church, croft, and field, but more the service and the toil of those who help them yield, and most the gifts of hope and love, of wisdom, truth, and right, the gifts that shine like stars above to chart the world by night.
Good morning, and welcome to this opportunity to be together in community. We're so glad of your presence here today. This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we figured out all of life's questions, and we're not here because we think we've got it right. We come here to learn more about our relationship with the interconnected web of life, to share spiritual journeys, and to grow as individuals and as a community. I hope you'll join us in the fellowship hall after the service for refreshments and conversation. Thank you for being here today.
In Unitarian Universalism, you will find no absolute doctrine, no creed or belief to which you must subscribe. Here, we value the individual spiritual journey and remind you that religion is not about what you think. Religion is about how you live. Please join together in saying our affirmation. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration. Build a community of caring fellowship. Nurture the hopes and serve the needs of our world.
I like that affirmation. I'm here from Florence, Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. You might know us as FOOF. It's the abbreviation we use. Sometimes we use other abbreviations when we're in private, but that's the one we want. That's the one we want. And this is my first time here, and actually I've only been to Salem a couple of times in my life. The song I'm going to do is an original song. Let me make sure it's the one on the screen so I don't mess everybody up. Yeah, okay, we're good. Homelessness or unhoused people is a problem all over the country. I know that this church and many other entities are working on housing for people. This is kind of a tongue-in-cheek, if you will, satirical look at the homelessness. It's called Homeless Shuffle, and there is a chorus. Is that chorus up yet? There it is. Okay, so I will do the chorus with you, and when it comes around, please feel free to sing, and that includes you out there in the internet. I especially want to hear you louder. Okay, make up for... Okay, so here's the chorus. Everybody should have a home. Everybody must be fed. Everyone has a right to a roof and below it a nice warm bed. We applaud your noble efforts at guarding their collective healths, and will gladly give you funds and food, long as you can put them somewhere else. This attitude might be familiar to some of us. Here we go. Now I sympathize with the homeless when I see them on the evening news. Somewhere there must be a place where they can park their weary shoes. Maybe a camp in the country or a building on the edge of town. But that shelter there across the street is only gonna get me down. Here comes the chorus. Everybody should have a home. Everybody must be fed. Everyone's got a right to a roof. Everyone's got a right to a roof. And below it a nice warm. We applaud your noble efforts. We applaud your noble efforts at guarding their collective health. At guarding their collective health. And we'll gladly give you funds and food. And we'll gladly give you funds and food, long as you can put them somewhere else. I'm so used to lining it out, I forgot it was on the screen. And it's not that easy to do because I write songs with lots of words. So, I don't want to have to lock my door to be inside safe and sound. This neighborhood will go to pot with the likes of them around. It's no fun out there in the cold. Yes, I know just how they feel, but I just can't bear to see a hungry face when I'm eating a nice warm meal. Chorus, everybody should have a home. Everybody must be fed. Everyone's got a right to a roof and below it a nice warm bed. We applaud your noble efforts at guarding their collective healths, and will gladly give you funds and food, long as you can put them somewhere else. Now I've got a friend who owns a store about a half a block away. Every year she donates goods and money to United Way, but she thinks it's bad for business to have the homeless walking by. She says, why not send them south for the winter so they can stay warm and dry? Chorus, everybody should have a home. Everybody must be fed. Everyone has a right to a roof and below it a nice warm bed. We applaud your noble efforts at guarding their collective healths, and will gladly give you funds and food, long as you can put them somewhere else. That was for comic relief, by the way. So please understand our position. It's not the way it looks. We want them housed, but out of sight. There are zoning laws on the books. Long as we can clear our conscience and preserve our civic pride, we'll give our consent, even pay the rent on a place where they can hide. Chorus, everybody should have a home. Everybody must be fed. Everyone's got a right to a roof and below it a nice warm bed. We applaud your noble efforts at guarding their collective healths, and will gladly give you funds and food, long as you can put them Yes, we'll gladly give you funds and food, long as you can put them somewhere else. Thank you.
This is from author May Sarton. Help us to be always hopeful gardeners of the Spirit, who know that without darkness nothing comes to birth, and without light nothing flowers. Each Sunday we light 3 chalices at the beginning of our services. The first is for this community, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. The second chalice we light is for our dear friends in our partner church in Šimenfalva, Transylvania, Romania. And we light our third chalice for the children and youth in our religious exploration program and for all the children of the world. Please join together in singing the flame into life.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
You may remember that Alan and I recently got a dog. Do we have a dog in the audience today? Yes? A cat. Okay, well, good. Welcome. We're finding that one of the things you have to do when you get a dog is go to a park now and then and let them run around. One day, a small child, about 2 years old, appeared at the park, and she apparently was not used to being around strange dogs. Suddenly, one of the very active puppies approached the child with many wiggles and kisses, and the child became frightened and began to cry. The mom did what any good, compassionate mother would do. She picked up the crying girl, comforted her, and reassured her. We might think that compassion and empathy are basically the same thing, but empathy occurs when one becomes aware of another's suffering and attempts to understand it. Compassion goes a bit further, in that once we understand the suffering, we are moved to actually do something to ease that suffering. Let us remember as we go out today that compassion is our way, and even the smallest gesture of kindness can lessen the distress of others, as a mother's active love can lessen the fears of a small child. And may we begin this coming week with gratitude in our hearts for our lives, our friendships, our families, and yes, even our dogs.
I'm Stephen Winters, one of your Lifeline's lay ministers. We have one joy and one concern to show this morning. This was showed by the Espinoza family. Our family recently moved into the area. We are grateful to be entering into a more diverse community. We are hoping to settle in well and to complete a real transition for the husband who is leaving the military after 12 years of service. As we do each Sunday, we light one more candle for those private joys and sorrows that remain unspoken. Lifeline's lay ministers are fellow members who extend Reverend Rick's ministry to members and friends of the congregation who are experiencing loss, illness, or any type of personal or family crisis. You can reach out to us by visiting the Lifelines table in the Hanneman Hall each Sunday after the service. Our lavender badges say Lifelines Lay Minister under our name. You can contact us by email address on the screen. You can post your joys and concerns in a book in the foyer before the church, which is this. You can also post them online. There is a link under the title of the next Sunday service.
Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears.
Some of you may remember the late and very lovely Virginia Corey Cozart, poet and UUCS member. Excuse me. Virginia has given us the following poem, which is one that I personally very much relate to. She called it, "Back Then, Identity Was Not a Problem." There was an old woman, as I've heard tell. She went to the market, her eggs to sell. My parents always lived on the farm. Cows keep you close. We went to clubs some Thursdays, Mom bearing potluck, Dad his cribbage board. Me, all ears for the stories how my father fell in the creek while courting my mother. All around, soft chatter that wove itself into my hammock. There came a peddler whose name was Stout. He cut her petticoats round about. "Biddable," I answered when called. Practiced the piano, sheared my pigtails, went off to liberal arts school, married. I like that his family name was on the county map, Gant Creek. When it didn't work out, I moved to the city, made a career, shed farming ways. The dog began to bark, so she began to cry. "Lauk a mercy on me, this is sure not I." I hang my clothes on the old line, wind whipping not the long johns and bibbed aprons of my folks, but my daughter's linens, her husband's stiff work socks, the 2-year-old's diapers. The house has a new generation, and now a new baby. I put potatoes on to boil, call it supper instead of dinner. Scramble to find my place.
When you say the word me, you probably think you're being pretty clear about what you mean. It's a simple concept. and one of the things you're clearest on in the whole world. The idea of me and mine is understood and important from a really early age. But when you stop to think about it, what me really is, when you start to think about what me really is, things get somewhat less obvious. Most languages use the possessive when referring to our body, its parts, our mind, and ideas. But if these parts are possessions, to whom and what do we attribute ownership? Our name is our most common reply when asked who we are. We may gain titles such as mom or dad or those associated with our profession, but all of these are just labels. Words used to quantify and identify a body and the workings and products of the brain and mind that we say belongs to us. This raised a question for me that I've been trying to answer. Am I a mind with a body? Or a body with a mind? Or am I actually a soul or a presence with a body and a mind? Or am I something else altogether? We tend to first distinguish one person from another through their physical features, like how the person looks or the sound of their voice and how they move in the physical world. It's through our body that we experience life and interact with others. If the body dies, life, as we know it, ends. However, if I am my body, then changes to my body would, logically, change who I am. So how much change is allowed? What about transplants or artificial knees or hips? Even if I had traumatic changes to my body, my appearance, or if I underwent some of the many, many modern medical interventions available today, legally at least, I'd still be considered me. So let's dig a little deeper and look at the body at a cellular level. After all, each person's DNA is unique, right? Well, not quite. Identical twins or triplets or clones, if there are such things yet, have the same DNA. And anyone who knows identical twins can tell you that they are not the same person. DNA determines what we look like and many other traits, but it doesn't make sense as the source of where the thing that makes me, me can be found. Okay, let's go even more minute. As we move from infancy to old age, our bodies change. Did you ever go through an old photo album with your grandparents and come across a picture of a young person? And they tell you, oh, that was me when I was a kid. Well, they're right. However, the person who sat for the old photograph and the person sitting next to you going through the pictures have absolutely nothing in common as far as the atoms that make up their bodies. In fact, every year, every atom in your body is exchanged. Not a single one resides there forever. And there is a 100% chance that thousands of other human beings throughout history have held some of the atoms that are currently in your body. The atoms that make up the molecules of our body are stardust, traceable to high mass stars that exploded a long time ago and became gas-filled clouds with the chemistry of life. This stardust is shared back and forth with other life and other planets and the universe at large. It moves around from person to person and through space and time. So it isn't likely the explanation I'm looking for. If who or what we are could be quantified and identified simply as our physical body, why is it that almost all women and those who identify as LGBTQ+, and I suspect many men, feel strongly that being judged and labeled for their physical body is offensive. If who we are could be attributed simply to our bodies, would we not be thrilled to have our physical features complimented and given all the attention? This is the most compelling reason why I can't support a body theory in my search for the essence of who I am. So perhaps Descartes was correct. I think, therefore I am. Since our current day ability to understand and perform medical procedures on the mind and brain is fairly limited, I'll need to use a sci-fi example as we explore the possibility that our mind and personality is where our true self resides. If you're a Star Trek fan, you may recall that at one point Mr. Spock dies in a heroic gesture to save others. As he's dying, Spock places his thoughts, his personality, into the mind of another. His body then ceases to function and is dead. Although he no longer has a body, Mr. Spock remains a separate entity. Long story short, Spock's body is regenerated through the miracle of technology and cinema, and the thoughts and personalities, once stored in another, are transferred to a new cloned body double. The new Spock looks, acts, and thinks the same way he did before the original body died. The new body, now containing his original thoughts and personality, is recognized as Mr. Spock by all who know him. This theory's looking kind of plausible at this point. Okay, we're going to stick with the movie theme and look at what happens to Randall McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Although a work of fiction, the procedure Mr. McMurphy is forced to undergo at the end of the story was once, in reality, a much too common practice in treating those with severe and persistent mental illness. In the story, Mr. McMurphy is a loud, outspoken, rebellious man who is committed to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. He pushes back against the rules, the staff, and the unfair and frankly unethical practices of the institution. In an attempt to cure him, Mr. McMurphy is subjected to a number of interventions, including psychotropic medications and electric convulsive shock therapy, ECT. When these do not produce the results desired by the institution, he is forced to undergo a lobotomy. This operation severs some of the connections in the brain and usually results in a pretty drastic change of personality, thinking, and behavior. It is, in fact, a surgical traumatic brain injury. After the procedure, Mr. McMurphy's way of interacting with the world is very different, but he's still Randall McMurphy. Luckily, lobotomies are no longer commonly used in Western medicine, but I've worked with dozens of traumatic brain injury patients. These events resulted in substantial changes in the person's thinking and personality. Although greatly altered, the person is almost always still recognizable as who they were before suffering a TBI. The same is true for those who go through neurocognitive disorders, dementia. A few years ago, I took my mother to visit her best friend, Jane, a woman she had known and loved for over 75 years. Jane had advanced Alzheimer's disease and was in a memory care facility. During our visit, Jane spoke mostly about her past. She didn't know the date. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know her parents and her daughter had died many years before and was unable to recognize her sons. She talked about adventures with her friend Kathleen, but she had no idea that Mom, Kathleen, was sitting right next to her. Yet she was still Jane. Even after physical injury to the brain, personality changes, or memory loss, it appears that overall a person remains themselves. I don't think the answer I'm looking for is in my thoughts. I was talking about this with my daughter, and she told me about an article she'd come across that said that each of us has a place inside us, a minute pinpoint of essence where their self resides. I looked into it, and sure enough, the idea is that each person has a unique personal space inside themselves that is the center of who they are. It might be deep in the brain, or inside the heart, or who knows. For each person, it's unique. It's where you are, the pure, true you. This you is free from the influence of your experience, education, and other people. Sorry, I can't see how the real me can be separated from my experiences. How can a person's true self be unaffected by all that they have been a part of? Doesn't work for me. I can't say any of these theories are completely wrong. They may hold answers for you, but I think perhaps who I am isn't a place or a thing. What if who we are is a story, a book, or a database that's always changing, updating, and never the same from day to day? It would be an epic, thrilling tale filled with people and sights and sounds, plot twists, triumphs, and disappointments. Sometimes it's a romance. Sometimes it's a tragedy. Sometimes it's a comedy. There's a lifetime's worth of interesting knowledge and trivia. There are lots and lots of odds and ends and bits and pieces of day-to-day living. And probably, at least in my case, quite a few unfinished thoughts. The story would have pictures and sounds and smells and textures and awesome special effects. Be filled with music and art and creativity. Along with the reality, there are fantasies and dreams and imaginings. But I also think there's a restricted section where we keep thoughts and memories we look at only when we're alone or with our closest, most intimate friend. Deep inside the restricted section is a hidden, secret chamber with a sturdy lock. In there are the parts of the story so frightening or embarrassing or private that we pretend they never happened. Still, they're part of who we are, so we can't actually throw them out. The story is always changing, with characters coming and going, just like the atoms in our body. Who, what, or where is myself, my essence? I don't have any idea. But I know that I am not just my body or my mind or even my experiences. Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson gave me the best explanation I found so far. We are stardust brought to life, then empowered by the universe to figure itself out. Not only are we in the universe is in us. I don't know of any deeper spiritual feeling than what that brings upon me. Let's take just a moment to relax. I need to grab something. I'm going to read you a poem that I like by George Herman. The moon is God. The sun is God. Divine each brook, and sacred every tree. Everyone and everything is God. everything that is, but me. Every blessed thing but me. Oh, wonder strange, the moon can change. The sun arrange each creature's destiny. The moon, the sun are powerful and are great. Yet all that they could create was me. To godhood aspirate me. Surely God is real, and yet I feel the moon, the sun, the waters, and the tree will pass away, while something else survives eternally. What a jest if it should be. Who'd have guessed that it could be me?
Thank you, Janet. That was lovely. Each month, UUCS donates a portion of our offering to a group we recognize as doing significant work in charity, justice, and education. The vision of the Oregon Black Pioneers is to be a resource for the study of Oregon's African American history and culture. This group provides exhibitions, public programs, original publications, and historical research, which educates Oregonians about the history of many of Oregon's original settlers. July's Share the Plate recipient is Oregon Black Pioneers, and you may contribute today with an offering, or you may include an extra offering with your monthly pledge. UUCS also donates to Marion Polk Food Share, and you may contribute food or money by leaving your offering in the little red wagon, which is out in the foyer, I think. Monetary offerings may be given today, or you may contribute online. Go to uusalem.org and click on the donate button, and we thank you for your kind generosity. Here's the little red wagon.
There's another song that I wrote, this one back in 1987. By the way, I wrote Homeless Shuffle in 1982. I write a lot of topical songs. A lot of them go out of date. About 75% of actually what I write goes out of date because it's about past presidents or, issues that somehow got resolved. 75% of I just don't do it. But the other 25% of songs that I write, I wish would go away so I wouldn't have to sing them. Unfortunately, this is one of the latter, and actually this one I don't mind singing because it's about a white supremacist who fell in love for the first time. And he was down in Sacramento at one of the community colleges. He was the head of the Aryan Student Union, so you get the picture. And they were responsible for a lot of violence towards black people, Chinese, Asian people. They were anti-Semitic. So why did I write a song about him? Because in the spring, by the way, his name is Greg Withrow. You may have seen this if you remember that back that far. He fell in love in the spring of 1987 with a woman, and he began to have feelings towards other people that were different than hate. He began to feel like what he was preaching and the actions he was taking against the other were wrong. And it really opened him up. he actually renounced his former compatriots who were part of the, some of them had connections with the Ku Klux Klan, and some of them were anti-Semitic Nazi groups. He went on television. He went on Oprah Winfrey. He was on Good Morning America. He was in People magazine, talking about what he had formerly been up to and calling out some of those people that I mentioned. Well, they fought back. One story, there's a lot of stories. I don't want to take a whole lot of time before the song, but there's one story that a gang of his former cohorts actually nailed him to a cross, and basically they beat him up first and they left him for dead. Well, he was rescued by a black couple, and that was really significant as well for him. And the woman that he fell in love with was the daughter of Jewish Holocaust survivors. So this can happen, and that's why I wrote this song. It's called I Felt Love. I'm going to do the first verse before the chorus. It'll come in and I'll cue you. Well, I used to preach white power and that freedom could be won by teaching kids to hate blacks and Jews and how to fire a gun. It was Aryan Revolution and a race war to the death. If it hadn't been for Sylvia, I'd never caught my breath. Chorus, I felt love and will never return. Love's a long, hard road, but it's not too late to learn. I used to stand for violence, but now I know the score, and I don't want to fight for hate no more. It was from a very early age that I was taught to hate the mixing of the races and the power of the state. I grew to be a leader of white supremacy, but now the Nazis and the Klan are not the way for me, because I felt love and will never return. Love's a long, hard road, but it's not too late to learn. I used to stand for violence, now I know the score, and I don't want to fight for hate no more. Now the love of a woman is a very healing thing. Well, it made this angry man to laugh and his empty heart to sing. I began to feel for others what I felt for her so strong. It made me see that preaching hate and hurting folks was wrong. And now I felt love can no longer return. Love's a long, hard road, but it's not too late to learn. I used to stand for violence, but now I know the score, and I don't want to fight for hate no more. Yes, my days of hate are over, and I never will go back. I can no longer hurt someone because his skin is black. Gonna be a long, hard road, but I have changed my ways. Love can do the same for you, and hope will shed its rays. When you feel love, you will never return. Love's a long, hard road, but it's not too late to learn. You'll no more stand for violence once you know the score, and you won't want to fight for hate no more. I felt love can no longer return. Love's a long, hard road, but it's not too late to learn. I used to stand for violence, now I know the score, and I don't want to fight for hate no more. No, I'm not gonna fight for hate no more. We're not gonna fight for hate no more. Thank you. Just wanted to mention that if you wanted to hear those again, I did bring some recordings with me, and later on you can take a look. If you didn't believe it the first time, you can take it home and listen to it. And you'll see that's what I really said.
That's what he really said. Thank you so much. I think some CDs are on sale in the fellowship hall. Yes, okay. Next Sunday, trying to figure out where I am here. Next Sunday, please join us in person or online to hear from our friend, the Reverend Mark Gallagher, who will be speaking on "We Are Moral Animals, Not Fallen Angels." We always enjoy hearing Mark's sermons, and to me, this one sounds especially intriguing. It is time to sign up for Connections Group and Chalice Circles. Connections Groups are designed to strengthen bonds of fellowship with topics such as integrity, wisdom, belonging, and joy. Chalice Circles will discuss such topics, try to say that 3 times fast, as immigration or climate change. Registration happens online until August 20th. Now, I've been involved with the Connection Group for about 3 years, and we meet once a month, and I just love it because I've come to know some folks I didn't know, folks who sometimes don't attend too terribly often, and the discussions we have are thought-provoking, insightful, and we're really having a lot of fun, and you'll be hearing from our Connections Group in a couple of weeks. I encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities. They're just wonderful. The news of our community may be accessed online through our newsletter, and we have a lot going on around here, and you don't want to miss out. If you're not receiving the newsletters via email, you may contact the UUCS main office and request that they be sent to you. And now, Janet is going to help light our social justice candle. We light this candle every week to remind us of the work we do individually and as a community to further the promise of social justice. Thank you, Janet. Perfect. And now we'll be extinguishing our chalice, and this comes from Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for others. Our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith community continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving.
Please rise as you are able for our closing hymn, "This Is My Song." This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean. The sunlight beams on clover, leaf, and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
And if you would please remain standing as you are able and join together in saying our closing words. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come. Blessed be.
Blessed be.